I want to ask you how this is going to play out for November, because there seems to be a groundswell of this very, pro MAGA, pro MAGA black people. It's
Right.
wild that diagram, like there's
Hmm.
somewhere that captures a swath of black people, which I'm not sure how this is going to play out. I'm really nervous about November because the voices are getting louder and louder.
Well, I think I think that sometimes anti-Biden is confused with pro-Trump. And why people are anti-Biden is confused. And the logic is, if you are not fully throated all in for Biden, then you are posting, promoting Trump, because there's only two options and it's one or the other. You don't really have a third option. But the truth of the matter is, yes, you do. You actually do. We're relegating ourselves to two options. There are other people who are out there. There are other options, and also on a state level, on a local level, there are other elections that are probably not going to get as much attention as they need to and deserve to, because people are so focused on the general election. There's other forms of activism. There's ways of affecting public policy beyond simply voting in the general election. And
Well, let's be
and I'm
clear.
not
Hold
saying not
on.
to vote. Now, what I'm saying
No,
is, what I'm saying is that it's hard to really read people who have legitimate gripes with the current administration as being pro the other guy. They just have fundamental things. So the person who can do something
which
about
we
that,
all should, at this point,
right? But
challenge
Biden
what's
could
happening.
do more. He
Biden could
could.
and should and has, because of people. I mean, they're talking ceasefire, something that they probably wouldn't have been talking several months ago.
Right.
Like he talked about a red line being crossed. Like if he goes one step
Hmm.
further, we're gonna be pulling out. Like the
Right.
line has been red with the blood of Palestinians. That said, November is November, and there is a
Right.
binary choice with both of
Yeah.
these two people, and staying home is the third option, right? Staying home or voting down ballot.
Yeah,
But
voting
that,
someone else. Yeah.
but those people who are engaged around anti-blackness, anti-everybody, and pro-whiteness will be showing up. They don't give a damn whether the man
Right.
is convicted or whatever. So the numbers, even though the numbers are greater over here in terms of humanity, um, if half of humanity sits home, evil wins. I feel so.
Right.
Like
I think what'll end up
I don't know how
happening.
else to engage in this.
Well, I think what'll probably end up happening is, remember, historically, the majority of the population never votes. Like, it's not
Right,
like
100,
most of the
yes,
registered
100
voters don't even
million.
vote.
Right.
And so we had some record numbers or whatever the last time, because the immediacy of just kind of getting Trump out of there, and he was such an effective villain that it motivated people on both sides, the people who wanted him to win, the people who didn't want him. So they did record numbers. I think in this case, what'll probably end up happening in November is it'll be a lower turnout, and somebody's going to win by default of the other person's side not showing up, but it won't be this groundswell of votes like there was the last time,
I agree.
because I don't think that I haven't met personally. I haven't spoken with very many, if any, Biden or Trump supporters. Well, correct. Let me put Trump supporters to the side for a second, because that's a different kind of thing happening there psychologically. So let's just deal with Biden supporters for a second. I haven't had conversations with any of them who were passionate. You remember the Obama effect in 2008 and even in 2012. Like, it was almost messianic, the way that the way that people voted for. I've seen none of that energy for Biden, and lots of criticism. I think that people are intending to, for the greater good, vote for the lesser evil. They're going to pinch their nose and vote for the lesser evil, because they just don't want Trump to be president, not because they just are so revved up for what Joe's going to do next. And
Right.
so, if you're doing the math, then as a loyal Democrat, what you're hoping is that Biden just get over the finish line. Let's just go get over the finish line. Hopefully y'all win some seats, get a majority. Maybe something can happen in the next administration, and then start working on Kamala. And if you can get that together. Personally, I don't think Trump is as strong as people thinks he is.
Okay. All right.
I think
All
he's
right.
got
I
a
mean, all right.
He's
Let
very
me find.
vulnerable.
Let me
he's got
find
a
Joe
loud.
Christian Gill. You out there in the streets, fighting with them people. What you see?
That's the same thing. I think it's going to be a situation in which people. I mean, I struggle with this, right? Because you know I've seen a lot of people on social media like, I'm not going to vote for Biden. I'm 100% not going to do this. And I'm looking at the alternative, and I'm like, the way I typically think about this is I'm going to look. I vote for the capitalist with the Black Lives Matter T-shirt on, right? At least they will say the thing. And but I will say that I've been 100% torn about the genocide that's happening right now, that we're like witnessing live. Like, we're witnessing this live. And
Right.
at all those different points in history, you've always been one of those people. It's like, what would you have done in that
Mm,
time? And it's just really difficult because we are on I mean, Trump has said the quiet part out loud. I'm going to be a fascist. I'm going to control the government. I'm going to kick
Right.
all of the
Right.
people who support me out. And conservatives across the country have shown that they are willing to basically turn the election over to him at any point anyway, right? Like, they were trying to get rid of in Texas, I think it was, where they were trying to create a law that if the voters voted a way that they didn't like, that they could change it.
Right.
And so we're basically stuck between, the semi-democratic system that we have now with based on, like, is it bad now? Yeah. Could it be worse? Yeah. Right. Could it be better? I'm not sure exactly how do we get to better without burning the whole thing down.
Right. Right. That's actually what I was thinking when you were talking, is that people will then pin you to the wall and say, okay, then give me a solution.
Yeah.
You don't like the current situation, then what's the solution? Like, okay, quick. And now the Jeopardy music starts, like, give me. You know
Oh,
good
I
and
have a
well.
solution. I have a solution. What I think
Right.
that this is what I personally think people should do. This is just my personal opinion. I think people should hold their nose and vote for Biden and immediately latch themselves onto a third party candidate in November, not 2 years from November, in November. Find a third party candidate that you can start supporting, that will start running at that point, whether they're green. I mean, could be Green Party, could be, it could legitimately, in my opinion, it could be an old school Republican that believes in limited government. Like, it could be that kind of a person that's going to stay out of people's lives, like, that would do no harm in that
Right.
situation. Find these people and start trumpeting those folks. Because I
Right.
think 2 years is not enough time. And then I think also people should start looking at down ballot opportunities, right? Like, we know that leftists politics works on a local level because there are governments that run on leftist politics, right? And they run really well, right? You can't say that about a libertarian government, because I live in New Hampshire, and we can talk about what happened in Grafton about bears overrunning the city and like all the stuff when they tried to create a
Right.
libertarian society. So, like, I would say we start, like, hold your nose, vote for Biden, immediately start supporting down ballot candidates, and join a party of some other place and put your efforts in that. And that way we can do it. That's my opinion.
Do you think that it's possible that, like, we talk about capitalism and we talked about white power structure and things of that nature, that our political structure might be so inherently corrupt, like, to on a molecular
yes.
level, so inherently
Yes.
corrupt that we are now trying to fix a thing with itself?
Yeah,
And
Mm,
yeah, absolutely. It's hard, right? Because you're exactly right. You can't capitalism your way out of capitalism.
right.
yes.
Right?
No.
And that's
Right.
exactly
And
where we are.
I feel like the thing needs to crumble, but I don't want to see the pain that's going to come out of the crumb. So many of us are going to get hurt by that. Like, I do think this thing that we're in needs to go away, and we need to build something different out of the ashes, out of the manure. We need to grow something that serves everybody. But
Right.
to get to that, there's going to be a whole lot of pain, and I'm not prepared to open my mouth to say that on these airwaves that I'm for that, because I'm
I
not.
Right.
think Nicole had a
And
young that
I
said
think,
that this is very
unfortunately, we
close
are
to.
already we've
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry. And I'm saying, I think, unfortunately, we've already reached that part in the Congo. We've already reached that part in Palestine. We've already reached the point where people aren't really
You're
sure
right.
how to reconcile the minerals that are being mined out of Congo, by child labor, and all of the atrocities that we're witnessing there. How to reconcile that with the technology, when there's cobalt in these headphones right now that I'm using,
Yes.
in this microphone, in this laptop, in my phone right here. It's in there. It's everywhere. It's not just like, if I don't just buy an Apple or a Samsung anymore. It's everywhere. It's in your drone. It's in your toys. And over 50% of it in the world comes from this place of conflict. And so we have to start figuring out, how can we reconcile it? How can I live in an existence where I can't say free Palestine, because as far as you're concerned, that's become as hot button cage phrase like Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter was deemed to be racist, the same way that free Palestine is being deemed anti-Semitic. If calling a thing, remember when Rwanda, they didn't want to officially call Rwanda a genocide. Because there's reasons, there's things, there's obligations that you have to do once you call it a genocide officially. Well, they're not calling the thing that's happening in Palestine a genocide. And we've reached a point where, and I think this happened with Black people, with the death of Black people. Remember when it was rare and shocking if you saw someone killed, if you saw some damage done to someone on the internet, on social media? Now, if some lady has her son shoot a dude in a hot dog shop, it's all over Twitter. If somebody gets killed in a drive, the police officer kills someone, somebody killed in a drive-by. I see more murder and death and destruction of bodies on social media that is not censored, that is not, blurred out, and not goes against a community guidelines, than I do some of the content that I post, some of the things that other creators post that are objecting to the powers that be. That goes against community guidelines.
That gets you canceled. Yeah, all right.
But we're mainstreaming it to the point where I think we're numbing ourselves. We saw Trayvon on the lawn dead. We saw Mike Brown face down on the pavement, bleeding out, dead. We saw George Floyd get murdered before our very eyes. And at some point in time, I think that, we're having the reverse effect. Ahmaud Arbery, we saw him get murdered, and it was supposed to be to shock people's consciousness, to activate them. But instead, it just turned into this morbid sort of Black death porn. And I don't know that, I think we're adapting in the wrong direction. And I think we have to kind of go inside.
Well, aliens are real now, so maybe we can just hope for that.
If the aliens are here, they're getting rid of all of us. 866-801-8255. They don't see color. Dr. Summer Show is here, as well as Joe Christian Gill, professor, as well.